Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all having a great day so far. So today we're actually building another celebrity mansion. It's kind of been a while since I built one, so I thought like it would have just been nice to change it up a bit and like create something new. So we're actually building Justin Bieber and Hailey Bieber's secret mansion in, I believe it's in California, in some place called La Quinte, and it's a single story, like very huge extravagant mansion, which is like very modern and stuff like that. So it's like very simple and monochrome as well, which I really do like the way it looks, and I feel like it really resonates with like the style that I like. So yeah, it was really fun to build this build, and surprisingly for such a big home, it was actually only a single story house, but obviously like in real life it was huge, and it has about like I believe 7 bedrooms. I wasn't able to recreate 7 bedrooms on this lot because I'm building it on a 50 by 40 rather than on 64 by 64, because I just wanted it to be more versatile so that you guys can use it in whatever lot you guys want to like use it in. So yeah, I just stuck with a more smaller lot size just so like it's easier to move around and play about in. And even for me, like when I was like moving this lot around, because I didn't want to keep it in Del Sol Valley the whole time, I wanted to like move it in other worlds as well, but I couldn't really do that if I build it on a 64 by 64. So in particular, there was the growing together world. I completely forgot its name, but I was trying to move this lot into that space, and I just couldn't do that if it was a 64 by 64. So yeah, I just decided to stay with the smaller lot size, and here we are so far. We're pretty much like finishing up with the exterior so far, which is like, it's relatively huge. Like, don't get me wrong, it's still a very big home, but the fact that it's just like a bit of like, you know, it's just like one story, so it's not that big. And like in the Sims, I can't really recreate a one-to-one, but I obviously like tried to get it as best as possible to like the image that I was like looking at, if that makes sense. And to be honest, there wasn't a lot of reference images when it came to building this, so it was kind of like tricky to understand like what the build actually looked like. I don't know why, but there was just no proper like house listing, or there weren't like proper articles of this build or of this house in real life on like magazines and stuff like that, so it was really hard to find it. I found like a few like screenshots and stuff here and there, mainly through like Google Earth, because that was like kind of just like the best way I could see in like a 3D representation. There was just like no other way to like actually see it, which was kind of a shame. But in the end, I did obviously like try to do it as similar as best as possible, because I know like a lot of people do actually like utilizing a lot of like celebrities and like their homes in the Sims. So I was just like, you know what, it would be cool to like create something for the community to use. I feel like it would be really fun for them if they want to play with that sort of like lifestyle. I don't know. But so far we already built Kylie Jenner's home, Kim Kardashian's home, and now we're building, oh, we also built just Beyonce's home, but now we're also building Justin Bieber's home. But maybe, I don't know, maybe in the future I'll build even more celebrity homes, such as like Courtney's or Chloe's, or maybe even other celebrities. Like, I would love to know like your suggestions below. I'll definitely take it into consideration, because I don't mind taking like some sort of like ideas from you guys if you guys want to see something specific, because I don't know if, you know, if you guys wanted this specific build or not, but I just wanted to create it because I feel like it would have been a cool build to create, and especially because it kind of like ties in with like the theme that I like creating, which is like these like modern monochrome like huge mansions. And yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of like the background of this build. But yeah, as I was mentioning before, like there seriously was little to no information about this home. Like even in the interiors and stuff like that, maybe it was just me, but I just couldn't really find anything, and I kind of just wanted to get working with it, so I didn't spend a lot of time really looking around, because like even if I did find it, I wasn't going to make it like a one-to-one on the interior anyway, because that's just like pretty much impossible to do in The Sims. So yeah, I just worked with like what I had, and as we can see so far, this is kind of like the front area of the home, and I wanted this like very nice circular entrance, and this kind of like what they have in the real home as well. It doesn't look exactly the same, but I feel like I kind of just like got the message across, if that makes sense. And they kind of had like this outhouse sort of thing, which I feel like is usually at the back of the homes and like the gardens, but then this one was at the front of the home, so it was kind of interesting to see that at the front of the home. It was a bit weird, but it was like a nice change as well for me, I guess, because like I don't really create a lot of these like huge outhouses in the back gardens, let alone at the front. So yeah, it was kind of cool. And we also have in the real house there is a tennis court on this side of the home, like at the front, but I wasn't able to create a tennis court. I don't even know if we have a debug object that's kind of like a tennis net or something like that, but instead I just utilized a basketball net and course instead, because I just felt like that kind of like fit much better, if that makes sense. Plus like there was no, it's like it's at least usable, if that makes sense. So like if I made some sort of like fake tennis court, it wouldn't have made sense because you can't even use it anyway. So yeah, I just stuck with like what we had in the game instead of like copying it one to one. And you'll see me adjusting the house quite a lot throughout the entire build because I just wanted to get it as close as I possibly could have, if that makes sense. But obviously, like, because the pictures were like so far away from the home, I couldn't really see what kind of like windows they were using or doors or whatnot. And a lot of the home is taken from like a bird's eye view, so obviously as I was using Google Maps, so you pretty much couldn't really see a lot of like the details and stuff. So I just went with like what I thought would look really good and what looks the best in my opinion. So yeah, I just went with like these very nice open thin plain floor to ceiling windows, and we're kind of going with a medium wall height for the walls. But I actually noticed that like after building everything, I'm actually like finishing the entire build, I actually really like the build on the tallest wall height as well as like on the medium wall height, which I don't mind either. But I obviously built the entire build based on the medium wall height, but you guys can obviously change that up if you guys want it to be like a bit more shorter or taller. But I really just like the way it looked when it was tall, especially because of how the entire house is just like a single story home. It kind of made sense to like put it up on like make it have like a taller wall height, if that makes sense. So yeah, you guys should like take that into consideration if you guys are planning to build or use this home in your games, because I feel like it really does make a difference when you're using different wall heights when it comes to single story builds. But yeah, moving on to the actual like front area of the home, we have this like private gate sort of situation that I wanted to replicate, and it looked really nice. I like the way it looks right now, but in the beginning I actually wanted to use something that came from debug, but I couldn't really do that because I wanted to like attach a fence gate to it, but it just didn't work out. So instead I just had to use like one of the real fences that came in the game, which I didn't mind either. But you know how you can't use a fence on the like the end of the lot, you have to use it like one tile inwards. It kind of just like, I don't know, it looks a bit weird, but like I still kept it and I didn't really mind it in the end, to be honest. And I used a bunch of different greenery and like plants and stuff throughout like the entire build as well, so you'll see me utilizing that throughout like the entire build. And I used a bunch of different like trees and stuff like that to make the area look a bit more realistic and stuff, obviously matching it to the picture as much as possible. And as you guys can see so far right now, I'm actually placing a lot of like these like green shrub plants on like the edge of the lot, and I'm kind of like pushing it out using the tool mod. Once I did this and then moved the build onto a different lot, I realized that it doesn't actually stay, it gets removed. So wherever you guys just saw me place a few seconds ago, that pretty much doesn't exist in the game, unfortunately, because it just like gets removed. So yeah, I didn't actually mind it, to be honest, because I actually realized that once that got removed, it made the area around the home look a bit more cleaner. I guess it kind of just like makes it look less private because there's nothing around the home, but I just feel like it looks a lot better without it, in my opinion anyway. So yeah, I just kept it with that and stuff. And also with the trees and stuff that I was using, I felt like they were so huge and like very tall, and I didn't really like that, so it just looked a lot more better when I used the tool mod to make it lower. And I also used these small coffee tables that came with the Get to Work expansion pack because I wanted to create this like nice outer circle ring, like sort of like it's like sort of like a fencing around like the entire circle area of the build. And I was trying to find a proper object to do that with, but that was like the best thing that I could come up with. And I do actually really like the way it looks because it was kind of like a frame around like the entire circle. And as you guys just saw like a few seconds ago, I actually used a very huge fountain in the middle of like that circular area, but that fountain does end up changing because it just looked so big for that space. Like I know that circle is huge, but it was just looking a bit too big, so I went with like a much more simpler fountain, as you guys will see later on in the video. And I'm obviously scattering those shrub sort of like bushes around like the entire build because I really do like the way they look. I kind of prefer these ones in comparison to like all the other ones that actually come in the game, because these ones look really realistic. I like the color that it comes in, like it's like a very dark green color in comparison to the other ones, which are like a very bright green that I don't really like. And I don't know if you guys realized, but I actually had to like cover the entire lot with like a nice bright green spray paint because I just really did not like the flooring that comes in with like this 50 by 40 on in Del Sol Valley. This particular lot has like some really weird colorings on like the actual like flooring like on the ground, so I really wanted to cover that up because I feel like it really doesn't make sense for like a modern house like this. And I don't know if you guys realize, but on the roofing we actually have some sort of like pergola sort of situation on one of the sides of the home, which I really do actually like the way it looks. I feel like it was kind of interesting because I actually had to utilize the Greenhouse Haven roof texture, which I don't really like utilize quite often. So it was kind of like a nice change to like utilize that into creating something unique. Although it's not really like 100% pergola because obviously like, it's covered in like glass, it's kind of just like a glass roof. But I really do like the texture that it has, and it looked kind of like dynamic, if that makes sense. And we're actually creating one of the like sort of like outdoor seating areas that we can see here, and we also have a very nice like outdoor seating area like on one of the other sides of the home, as well as like a very nice like actual like dining area for the exterior as well, which I really do like. I feel like that is so nice to have a very like open floor plan and like having a very nice simple dining area that you can like utilize for the exterior as well as for the interior. I feel like that is really nice. Initially I wanted to place a dining area in like this area of the home where the pergola was, but then I don't know if I really liked the way that looked. And we do actually have another pergola on the other side as well, but it's just like a bit smaller, and I actually really like the way it looked here instead because it was obviously closer towards the kitchen, as we'll see in a few seconds as we get onto creating it. But here is what the main floor plan kind of like looks like. We'll get a bit of a closer look at it as we progress through the video, but I didn't want to like show every single room being created because it was just me creating like a bunch of rectangles and squares, which I feel like would not have been interesting for you guys to watch if I actually like kept it in. So instead I just kind of like did it off camera and like went with like what I thought looked and made sense for this build. And I was honestly trying really hard to utilize many different like wallpapers and flooring for this build. As you guys saw like a few seconds ago, I was really cycling through a bunch of different floorings that I felt like would look nice for this home. I was obviously going for like this nice wood texture, but I was also trying some like tiles here and there, but nothing was really resonating with me. So I just kind of like ended up going back to my favorite, which is the eco lifestyle one. I honestly find this one the most useful because I feel like it's just like very versatile, and I really like the colors that it comes in. It looks the most realistic in my opinion. So yeah, that's mainly the reason why I really like using this eco lifestyle one. And we went with a very nice dream home decorator kitchen, which I feel like looks really nice. Although it looks like simple, it might look simple, but I just really personally like the way it looks. I feel like it's just like such a nice sleek modern kitchen. I feel like this is such a nice realistic looking one as well. Like it's not too big, but it's not too small at all either. Like there's not a lot of counter space, but there's not too much either, if that makes sense. And I'm also utilizing one of the new login event rewards, which is the actual like bin. So if you guys don't know, that bin is actually one of the objects that already exists in the game, which is kind of like that futuristic trash can which you can throw rubbish in and you get simoleons for it. But now we have like a recolor option for it, which is really nice. I feel like it's really great that we can utilize like extra objects that already exist in the game in different swatches. Although I do kind of prefer if we got new objects, if that makes sense. I feel like that would look a lot nicer. I feel like not nicer, but like I would have preferred having newer object rather than recolors of existing objects, because I feel like it just creates more of a sense for like it kind of like encourages people more to log in and get those rewards. Because you know, like some people might just think like, oh, it's just like a recolor, so like there's no point in actually like logging on just to get a recolored swatch of it, if that makes sense. And plus like you can easily like use these without actually like getting the reward. So I feel like, is there really an incentive for people to log on to get these rewards? I'm not sure, but in my opinion I feel like it's not a bad idea, but it's also not the greatest. I feel like it could have been a mix of both, in my opinion, I guess. But yeah, this house also has a butler's area for the back end of the kitchen, which is kind of just like a big rectangular area that is kind of like behind the main kitchen area, which is kind of like where I put a lot more of like the clutter and like the more of like the appliances and stuff, because I didn't want it to show in the main kitchen. So instead I just like kind of like tucked it away. And we also have this like small area off to the side of the kitchen, which is kind of just like a little coffee station, which I really like doing in my builds. I don't know why, but I always do that in like my modern big homes for some reason. I just like the way it looks. I feel like it's something that I would personally want in my own home, which is the reason why I do it in The Sims. But yeah, we're just like creating like a nice simple dining table, which as you guys just saw, I actually utilize a bunch of different like colors for like the seating, which I wasn't doing it on purpose. I was actually doing that to see like which swatch I would prefer the best for this build. But looking back at it, I actually really like the way it looked with multiple different like colored seating on like one dining table, which I feel like I might honestly go back and like change that before uploading it to the gallery, because I really do like the way it looked. Obviously, like as I was building this, I did end up going with like just like the brown swatches, which I felt like was kind of new because I don't really use a lot of like these like dark brown colors in my builds. And I believe it came from the Modern Lux kit, which is honestly one of my favorite when it comes to creating these like modern builds, and it's honestly one of my favorite seatings when it comes to like actually like building in the game, because I just feel like it looks very modern and sleek. And we also have like this little small corner area of the build, which I just like add like a nice little seat there and like a nice plant, and I feel like I don't really pay a lot of attention to it, but we do go back and like add to it later on in the video. But like the main seating and lounge area is actually like right next to the kitchen, so we have this very nice open floor plan sort of like style living area right next to the kitchen with a very nice and modern sleek looking living room. So we're using one of my favorite objects, which is the book nook seater. I really do like the way that two-seater looks, and I was like kind of like trying to match the items around it. So I obviously used the single seater that came from the book nook kit as well, just to like make it cohesive. And I really like the colors that came with the pillows on the actual like seater, so I wanted to make sure that like all the objects around it matched it as well. So surprisingly, I was able to match the Dream Home Decorator like the coffee tables with the actual like colors from the pillows. So as you guys can see, like the interior like shelving units of the coffee tables actually match the pillow colors, which I thought like was kind of like nice and cohesive. And I was trying to find a rug that would really like tie the actual like space together, because I was trying to find something that had all of these colors like all in one rug, which I feel like is kind of like difficult when it comes to picking rugs in The Sims, because I feel like there's just so many with like so many unique patterns. But I feel like I was able to find something that really worked well, because I feel like this rug not only had the same colors, but I just feel like it looked very nice as well. Like it had like the same tones as well, if that makes sense. So it wasn't just like the oranges or like the light peach colors, it was also like the grays and like the oranges. I feel like just really did tie in well together, and I feel like it just turned out to be like a very nice overall simple nice living space. And I also utilized the Party Essentials TV, which I really don't really utilize, and I just felt like it was kind of like a nice opportunity to use in this build, because I used a lot of like LED lights for the kitchen cabinet unit. So I just felt like it was kind of cool to just like make it a bit more cohesive and like match with like the overall like space that it was in. But yeah, moving on to the room that is literally right next to the actual like living area and like the main entrance of the house, we actually have a very nice like office area, which I really do like utilizing in a lot of like my modern homes, because I feel like a lot of modern houses do actually incorporate like their own dedicated office spaces. So I just felt like it was kind of necessary for a huge house like this to also have their own dedicated office room, but I just feel like it just adds to the realism as well, in my opinion. And I really do like the way they look, because I kind of just like have this specific style that I do when it comes to like my offices, especially when I like utilize the Lux seats and like that nice simple like side table unit, as well as like the typical like bookshelves on like either side of like the desk table. I just feel like it's something that I really do enjoy doing. And this is one of the main bathrooms. I don't really show a lot of it, this is just like a few like sneak peeks at like what it actually like looks like, because I didn't want to waste too much time showing you guys too much of like the bathrooms and stuff. But this is one of the main bathrooms that is like right next to the kitchen, which also incorporates a shower as well as a bathtub. And here is another bathroom that I'm showing you guys right now, as this is the ensuite of the master bedroom. And I wanted to show you guys this because I really do like showing everything that comes with the ensuite itself. So although this is a relatively small bathroom, I still really do like the way it looks. I do like the color scheme of it and stuff like that. It's really cohesive and like really matches with my style of like being very monochrome and simple. But they also have their own walk-in wardrobe, so it's relatively small, but I do like utilizing and filling up the space as much as possible. So wherever I felt like was kind of like necessary, I just like add stuff for like the master bedroom here and there. And obviously there was space within like the actual like master bedroom area to add like a wardrobe in here, but I just felt like it was kind of like extra and over the top to have like a small little like walk-in wardrobe sort of situation that you can access through your bathroom. And I actually went with like a nice canopy bed for the master bedroom. I don't really do this, I don't know why, but I used to really like these canopy beds, but I don't really like them a lot anymore. I just feel like a simple bed is more preferable for me. But I don't know, for this room I just felt like I wanted to use a canopy bed, so I just went with it. And I kind of like based the entire room off of that bed, because I really wanted to go with like the color swatches and like make it cohesive with like the colors that were on the canopy bed, rather than like, you know, utilizing the same like black and white throughout like the entire build. So because the canopy bed had like a lot of different colors into it, such as like the dark browns as well as like the light browns, but like a lot of different like colors of blues as well. I wanted to make sure that came across throughout like the entire room, if that made sense. So there was like a few accent walls with different colors and stuff, as well as like a bunch of different paintings. Moving on to the room that is right next to the master bedroom, we actually have a nursery, which I really do like incorporating my builds now, because I feel like previously I never really utilized a lot of like family functionality. So I pretty much like filled every single room with like double bedrooms or single bedrooms or whatnot, but I really wanted to incorporate a nursery into this build because I feel like a lot of people do play with family, so it just made sense to also incorporate that so that people don't have to like go with the hassle of actually like having to edit the build before playing. So you guys can just like jump right in and just play with the game rather than having to edit anything. And I really like the way it turned out because I just feel like it worked with my style of how I create my nurseries. And I really do like the way the clothing shelving unit kind of like hangs on top of like the shelving units that were like on top of the changing table, which I thought looked kind of cool. And I believe Justin Bieber recently had his own kids, so I feel like it made sense to like, you know, have like a nursery in his own house, if that makes sense. I mean, I wasn't really basing this house off of his interior anyway, but I still wanted to incorporate that because I just know a lot of people do play with like their families and stuff. But yeah, moving on to the second bedroom, if we're not considering the nursery, we went with a more simple color scheme for this bedroom, and it's a relatively small one because it doesn't really have its own ensuite or anything. It's kind of just like a small little rectangular on like the side of the hallway. But I really do like the way this turned out because I just feel like this room had so much character, as we'll see like in a few seconds as I move on with the video. But yeah, I just really like the way it turned out. I feel like the colors are really cohesive and it made a lot of sense, and I really utilized a lot of the blooming rooms kit's plants because I just really like the way they looked. And obviously since it's free, I was just like, you know, why not just like add a few plants here and there, just like make the room look a bit more like lively and stuff. And I added like a lot of like stuff that would kind of like look realistic, if that made sense. So I added some like Polaroids on like the wall and stuff like that, as well as like a nice bookshelf and a lot of like greenery. And I really cluttered up the desk to make it look a bit more like lived in and stuff. And I really like utilizing the coffee on the tray table on like the bed, although like it's not really that realistic because it will kind of just be like a hazard because it will just fall. But I just really like the way it looked in The Sims, if that makes sense. So yeah, I just went with it and I really like the way it looks. This is another bathroom that is not really tied to being an ensuite because the other bathroom was like closer towards the kitchen and it was relatively far away. So I wanted to create like another public bathroom within this build, and it's more closer towards the like garage area of this build, which is kind of just like a fake garage that I created for the front side of the home, which I really did like the way it looked. And we kind of like sped past through that, but right now we're sort of like in the garage area, where instead of like utilizing it as like an actual garage where I place like a bunch of like fake tires or non-functioning objects from debug, I feel like it made more sense to utilize a bunch of like crafting objects and items and tables that you can actually use. So like while you're playing the game, you can actually like progress and create stuff rather than like having an empty room that like connects to like one side of your home. I just felt like it made a bit more sense to use that room to be like more functional rather than like as like a showroom to make it look more realistic, if that makes sense. Now we're moving on to the final bedroom in the entire home, which actually utilizes a Dream Home Decorator bed in a unique swatch that I feel like I've never really used before. So I feel like it was kind of just like a nice way of like changing up a bit and like utilizing different color swatches. So the base of this bed kind of had like this like really dark brown color, and like the top and like the actual like duvet part of it was like this like nice pinkish sort of like blush color, which I really don't think I've ever utilized. And I really do like the color of this specific, like this blush pink really did match well with like the rest of the color scheme that I was going for throughout like the entire room. And I really do like the pendant lights that I had like hanging from either side of like the coffee table. I really did like the way that looked, and I feel like that is really like the staple piece of this bedroom in particular. I just feel like it looks a lot more like interesting and unique in comparison to like what I've been doing for like my other bedrooms, which is just like adding like the typical like bedside tables and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just going around like the entire build now, just adding some like extra lights and like changing it up here and there, just like trying to make every single room make a bit more sense, because I've been started to use a lot more like specific lights for each room rather than like just using the saucer lights everywhere. But yeah, as we're coming towards the end of the speed build, I'm just going around and adding some extra furniture details here and there, such as like finishing the outhouse interior by utilizing a nice simple bar. I'm actually using the Cozy Bistro bar, and as well as like some of the items that came from it. as well as like the hanging shelving champagne units that came with it, which I thought was kind of cool, as well as the curtains that came with it. And then we actually move on to creating a nice simple barbecue area for the back garden area of this speed build. But yeah, it seems that we have came towards the end of the speed build. Thank you very much for watching. If you guys liked the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, as it really does help the channel grow. And also let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And I also have a bunch more videos on my channel that I highly suggest that you guys should check out. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.